Hello and welcome to the Bigger Crypto Show. Today I am going to go over some of my ideas on the market. They are only my ideas. This is not investment advice in any way, shape, or form. If it helps inform your own analysis, that's great. I hope you get rich. All right, so let's start back in the beginning. Back in October, um, I called the bottom, and I'll show you how. Back here in October, I made this chart, and basically I noticed that when the previous all-time high had been broken, then Bitcoin tends to go on an absolutely extra parabolic bull run. So it is this logarithmic curve is curving over, so the cycles are getting slightly longer, it seems. Of course, anything could happen in the future. It doesn't have to happen the same way. Patterns don't always have to play out. We look for confirmations. And for this, the confirmation will be when it reaches the new all-time high. So, as you can see here, I titled this chart the BTC Whale Accumulation Zones along the Parabolic Adoption Curve. All right, we are on a log chart here, so meaning that the higher you go, it squishes basically the higher numbers down so that you can fit all of the price action over the last 10 years on one chart and you could see it all. So right now we're looking at 10 years of data. And that's important. I mean, when a trend holds up for 10 years, then it's very powerful and you don't want to trade against it, right? The trend is your friend, as they say. But I see that phrase being abused quite a bit, and I'll explain why. So it seems to me that there is a natural adoption curve just happening with Bitcoin, and there's a point at which people holding for whatever reason to sell it later at a higher price or whatever, people tend to hold on to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a brand new technology. It's a new type of money. And I think a lot of people intuitively understand that. I've been studying technology adoption trends for almost 20 years. And transhumanism, the singularity, futurism, I've been studying all of that. Philosophy, the rate of technological change, and I even did my capstone in undergrad on technological adoption curves. So I understand what I'm looking at. Every technology goes through like an S curve. I mean, if you just Google technology adoption and take a look at the images, I mean, this tells you right here. Every technology starts with the early adopters, and then the professional and technology mainstream. Then we head into the early majority, then the late majority, then the laggards. And right now, the early adopters were the early people to mine Bitcoin, and they got hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins. You know, those are the ones that you heard the stories of them becoming billionaires and buying Lambos. That's because they were early adopters. And I wanted to be one of those when I first heard about Bitcoin in 2012, but it was difficult to find it, and I didn't have the money to buy a mining rig or anything, which obviously looking backwards, I certainly should have come up with the money, right? So in any case, when Bitcoin hit 2015, my buddy was telling me about Bitcoin, and I'm like, yeah, I know about Bitcoin. So the price kept going up, and I kept saying, it's in a bubble, it's in a bubble, it's in a bubble, but it kept going up and up and up. And sure enough, it was in a bubble, but I mean, nobody knew it was going to go to 20,000. That took everybody by surprise. Most people, anyway. So it's not unheard of that Bitcoin could do this again and go to 100,000. I mean, that seems impossible right now, but so is 20K. I mean, so is 1,200. I mean, you can't discount any of that, right? The price action tells a story, and you got to understand what that story is. So when 2019, when it pumped again up to 14K within 3 months, I knew that it was going to have to pop. And when it did pop, I was looking at, I mean, this is shortly after it popped. This is October, I guess. So it was just after that big trade when it broke down from 10K. I did make a lot of money here. That was fantastic. But we did enter the accumulation zone at that point. At that point, I believed that it was a good idea to start dollar cost averaging. But I waited because I had a sneaking suspicion that it would fall down to the adoption curve. And so I waited. I stayed out of the market. The markets are hard to trade on the short time frames. There's so much market maker, whale, and insider BS going on that it makes it so difficult to trade because the stop hunts are absolutely relentless. So I took a cue from Steve from Crypto Crew University, and I took a step back. So ever since I started analyzing the larger time frames, longer time frames, I started realizing that it's a lot easier to make money in crypto that way. So I'm now a position trader. Day trading and swing trading is pretty insane. Maybe after I've been in the market like a long time, even more experience, sure, maybe I'll get into it, but it probably won't be in crypto. It's too volatile. The market makers and insiders are able to dictate the price on low time frames. So it makes it difficult to trade. But when you take a step back and you look at weekly and monthly charts, then a lot of patterns become very clear, easy to understand, simple, and tradable, and you have less anxiety. So thank you, Steve, for helping me see the big picture. I was watching guys like Crypto Kirby who trade on the 4-hour, they're swing trading, and even Crypto Kirby, man, ever since the blow off top here, he's had a tough time trading. So I knew probabilistically that this downtrend was going to end at this line because, I mean, if you think about it, even the insiders, they can move the price down. They're going to mark the price down, and they're going to bring it back down to wholesale levels to accumulate. But they risk. It's very risky for them to sell beyond this point because staunch hodlers just keep buying it up. And I'm talking about not just little guys with $100 worth of bitcoins, but large whales. So this is the story that I'm telling here, and let's continue. Let's continue on next chapter. All right, so I talked about the trend line of doom for the total market cap. It did break that trend line of doom, but with Bitcoin not breaking its trend line of doom and it stayed above it, then the alts came back up with it, so that's good. All right, so here I've got a chart, and on the Kraken XBT chart, I generally just draw these lines as straight lines. On the BLX, there's a logarithmic curve. But on this one, this is a short enough time frame to draw this line that I just use straight lines. All right, so here, this is what happened. The price came down, and so I started getting really excited because this was make it or break it. And then I drew this pink line here where there's a lot of support here, right? So on this, I figured that around 6.4K, there's a ton of support, and you'll see it drawn on my charts here and there. So I knew I'd been analyzing it. This is where the price bubbles up from and pops back down to. And so here, see, there's a lot of BS. I mean, on the small time frames, I mean, look at these candles that just go straight up and straight down. And honestly, they are very difficult to trade. But a lot of things changed for me when I noticed the momentum that had been built up. First of all, I believe that we're basically in a bull run since the thing's inception. Because if you look at the adoption curve, that's the organic price action is really at the curve. That's the real price of Bitcoin. Everything that happens above this curve is market maker shenanigans, if you ask me. So I discovered this very large symmetrical triangle in Bitcoin, and it's basically likely to act as a bull flag. This is a continuation pattern, and the price is squeezing into the end where it is going to have to make a decision, right? And there's two teams here, right? There's the organic adoption curve, and then there's market maker shenanigans. Well, I think the adoption curve is much stronger than market maker shenanigans. So in my analysis, I put a lot of weight into this trend. And so I waited for the price to hit this line. And in December, my dream came true. So it was great. I'll show you right here when I found a lot of other evidence. There are a ton of fractals on longer time frames that just were screaming at me that the boat was going to turn around. It takes time and effort to turn around the price into a new trend. It's just how it goes. And there are indicators. Now, the insiders do their best to hide their accumulation, right? When they're accumulating, they don't want it to look like it. They don't want people to think that the price is going to turn around. So when people see that the price is in a channel, they usually just want to follow the channel until the channel's broken. But I knew I believed in the probability that it was going to bounce off the adoption curve line. And so for me, the channel ended there. And right here, we've got patterns with the 1 and 2 year MA that nobody was looking at, and the RSI, and coupled with the hash rate indicator, it was absolutely screaming turnaround in trend. So a lot of staunch price action traders were like, no, it's been going down for 6-7 months, so I'm not going to change my mind until the price goes up. So they wait until the price goes up and they missed out. I know some guys that I respect they missed out on 30+% gains by ignoring the adoption trend line. And it boggles my mind. I cannot believe that they let that happen. It was the best trade of my life. So when Bitcoin defended this 6,400 level, well, I had laddered in all throughout the $6,000 region in case the high probability play that I came up with played out. And sure enough, it did. When we hit 6,400, I had laddered all through here and went long. And I kept that long until the price was up in the 8,000s. When it hit this line and defended it, right? And you can also look at the VPVR here. This was the most likely point for the bottom. This was it. Any lower and the insiders would have killed their golden goose. Any lower and it would have driven so many people out of the market that they wouldn't be waiting on the sidelines to FOMO back in and drive the price back up. So you got to understand the charts are telling a story, and the story is that the insiders, they need a certain amount of people waiting just outside of the market, ready to jump back in when things turn around. And that's what people are doing right now. So you see this yellow line here. I drew because it's at the bottom of this VPVR candle, and it coincides with all this price action all throughout 2018 and even 2017. And so to me it was obvious, and I believe that we are now going to travel back up the adoption curve. And I believe that the insiders are going to take advantage of Bitcoin's natural price progression due to its halving schedule and the fact that more and more people are falling in love with it every day. And the people that have fallen in love believe so surely that Bitcoin is going to make them rich that they just keep dollar cost averaging. And wealthy people have been sucking up hundreds of thousands of coins all during the crypto winter. Why would they do that? Why would they do that for an asset that they were just going to crash into oblivion, right? They're getting their best price at this line. Driving the price down requires selling. It requires effort. And to drive the price down under this line is very difficult because a lot of buy pressure comes in here. And they can't afford. Why would you make the price so rock bottom that it gets gobbled up by hodlers and then you don't have any coins left to pump back up and sell at retail prices? That would be stupid. The goal is to accumulate Bitcoin down here, not get rid of it. They're trying to fill their warehouse, guys. So no, they're not going to drive it down to 5, 4, 3,000. That would be stupid right now. That was not stupid a year ago because the adoption curve was sitting down here at around 3,000. So same thing down here. The curve is now up near 7,000. You'll most likely not see sub 7,000 Bitcoin again. This was your last chance, and we had 3 dips during that inverted head and shoulders. You guys, that was it. I hope you got in then because you're done now. If you didn't buy crypto now, you did not get the absolute best price. But don't be worried. If you buy now, you're getting a very good price. So at this point, I was watching this 1 year and 2 year MA cross as well. That was a very important thing to happen. And eventually that happened. And of course, the mother of all trend lines, it just kept bouncing off of it. There are so many data points of the price bouncing off of this line that I don't understand why anybody would not put the credence and the weight into this trend that it deserves. And it behooves any analyst to actually analyze the whole market and understand what they're looking at, okay? This is not an equity. It's not a stock. It's a new technology, and new technology gets adopted exponentially. That is just the world we live in. You guys, I'm 40 years old, and I have seen so many technologies take off and advance in a parabolic fashion that, how can you not look at Bitcoin and understand it that way? All right, so another thing I was looking for is the December candle was going to be very important to me because I had laddered all these longs in what I thought was going to be the bottom. And sure enough, we got this absolutely beautiful hammer candle, which is a candle you look for when the market's going to turn around. Because there's this cushion. The price is falling, right? But it lands softly, and there's this cushion here underneath the price, right? It's cushion, and then it's going to turn around. So I was really looking at this January candle to be green. And if this January candle is green, this is a monthly candle that's very powerful. And if February is green, woohoo! Guys, we are off to the races. They are going to pump the price up into the stratosphere. That's what's going to happen. And all of the patterns that would say that that's going to happen are occurring. So as an analyst, why would you discount all of this evidence? It's just because for a few months, the market makers have been selling off in the distribution phase. Come on, we know how markets work. We're analysts. Look at what's happening. There's so much energy in this chart. It's incredible. We had two bullish divergences on both the MACD and RSI. Why would anybody discount all of this evidence? I mean, if you're a detective and you're trying to find out which cat knocked over the flower pot, you'd want to analyze all of the evidence very carefully. And here, there's a lot of money involved, right? So I looked at when this 1 year and 2 year MA crossed. Look at this. I was ecstatic. This was a huge confirmation for me. Very, very bullish. Not bearish at all. So what if we're in this downward channel? That doesn't matter. All of the downward channels that Bitcoin has ever been in has bounced off of the adoption curve. So why wouldn't it happen again, guys? Why wouldn't it happen again? All right, so it's the market cycles, and it's not that complicated. This is what smart money knows. After watching videos, these videos, you're smart money now too. So ride on the coattails of the big guys. So right now is a very good time to accumulate. We are in the accumulation zone. Prices are still very cheap. Dirt cheap. All right, we've got the relative vigor index. I drew this green line here that shows that when we are above this green line, the 0 point, Bitcoin is in a bull market. All right, these are facts. We're all looking at the same chart, aren't we? Also, I found these RSI fractals, these little things here. I mean, obviously, 2019 pump was a lot larger than this one, but look at what we went through. We onboarded tens of millions of people into the ecosystem. And look at how easy it is. It took 3 months to pump the price from 4,000 to 14,000, guys. Like, I'm telling you, Bitcoiners are trigger happy, ready to FOMO in. So I believe that the 2019 pump was this little bubble here. And I'm calling it a bubble because it did go above the accumulation zone and into distribution. So it accumulated and distributed just like any bubble. And so, but this was a test. They were testing FOMO to make sure that they can pump this thing sky high later as well. And it also just got more people smoking hopium, and now even more people bought coin and are hodling. So it's keeping the price inflated, and it's keeping the parabolic adoption curve intact. If that's the story that's playing out, guys, in these charts, and that's how I analyze it. And so you're not going to get any BS from me, man. All right, now I drew my line like this because this right here, this wick market maker shenanigans, this is BS. Look at these candles going up here over these 2 days. Like, this is insane. It went the width of the channel, right? So I believe that we broke the channel here, and then we consolidated on top of it, and so we have broke the trend here as far as I'm concerned. Even though I called the bottom down here, you can look at my Twitter feed. I kept it. I called the bottom here in November when it first went to 6,500 or whatever. I called the bottom, and then it did end up dipping a little bit below that, which gave me another chance to go long. And I did catch a $6,500 long here that just, boom, I caught a 30% trade there. It was immaculate. I mean, life-changing money, guys. It's just beautiful. So I love Bitcoin so much. God, I'm so glad I learned technical analysis. And I'm just so happy to be here. I'm so glad you guys are watching this and you're on this journey with me. I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So, and I'm not a moon boy. I'm absolutely not a moon boy. I mean, it probably sounds like it, but the only reason is because of the evidence in the chart. I mean, if it looked like Bitcoin, if Bitcoin had broken this line in December, I'd be the most bearish person you could be talking about, and I would have gone short and made a ton of money either way. But this was the line in the sand for me. So, God, look at this. January's candle means business. Look at this. All right. I know my videos are a little random right now. I kind of ramble a bit. As I make them, I'm pretty sure that I will get better and things will get a little bit more scripted. But for right now, I just want to riff on Bitcoin and show you how I look at it and how I understand it as an analyst. So this is a boom candle, you guys. The thrusters are warming up on Bitcoin, and we can look for, it looks like we're heading into another massive pump. So I don't know. The market makers may use the halving event to pump the price sky high. They might, who knows, if they want to. We don't know what they're going to do, but it's our job to think about what decisions would smart money make that would make them the most money. And as far as I can tell, there are trillions on the table. They've got a trillion reasons because a market cap in the trillions of crypto, and we almost reached it there in 2017. We almost reached a trillion market cap. Why wouldn't the whales gun for that again? They have every incentive. And these are not stupid people. They've got teams of people coming up with the absolute best ideas to make as much money as possible. So why would they kill their golden goose, right? That's insane. When they can buy Bitcoin under 10,000 and sell it for over 100,000 or more, why wouldn't they do that, right? So, and it would take forever. I mean, if they actually dropped Bitcoin back down to 3,000 now, and it broke the adoption curve, it would languish for years. It would just languish. And does this asset look like something that they're ready to let languish? I mean, look what happened in 2019. This chart has so much bullish energy in it, it's not even funny. And then now we have this symmetrical triangle that we're squeezing into. Are you kidding me? Can somebody buy all of the other analysts, all the bearish analysts, a drink, please? Because they need to get with it, man. Like, look at this thing. It's so much energy. All right. So we have already jumped over the point of control for Bitcoin, and the rest of the crypto market space is going there. Right now, the point of control is at 82.88, and the price has been hovering around 8,800, between 8,600 and 9,000. It's been hovering above it. So the likelihood of it going back under this point of control is very low for me. That is support. We have found support on top of this trend line. We have found support on top of the VPVR and all of the price action at 6,400. Historical price action there. We're way above all of that. We have broken this downward trend, and basically Bitcoin is gunning for the next downward trend it needs to break. And it also coincides with all of this support that occurred at around 10,100 to 10,400, all that price action. Now, if you look at the VPVR, I mean, even then, though, the volume at that price level is still not super high. So I don't think breaking 10K is going to be as difficult as some people make it out to be. I think there is a lot of confluence there. It's going to be important confluence. You've got this downward trend line. You do have a lot of support that was at 10K that could be resistance. And there's a lot of confluence of resistance, potential resistance. And I'm sure that there will be some selling. But I don't know. There's a potential that it will slice through 10K. And then at 14K, we might see some selling. Maybe at 10, maybe at 14, and then again at 20, of course, I think we're going to see some selling pressure come in. So there'll be some resistance, but at that point, we will we're gunning for 20K, and everyone's going to see that. And even small pullbacks will likely just be bought into as dips by people. I mean, if I know people and I know this market and how people are, if they're trying to pump it up and create a new all-time high, right? Because their job is to create enough FOMO up here that they can sell into a lot of buying pressure and sell over time. So that's distribution. They're going to distribute at 20K. It's going to fall back, but I don't think it'll fall back that hard, especially if it breaks and creates a new all-time high. They're going to sell into the pressure. It's probably going to range just a little bit and consolidate while people are FOMOing in and people are selling into that FOMO. But then it's going to break out, guys. From what I can see in this chart, that's exactly what it wants to do. It's been I mean, look at it. Look at it. The price action is telling us exactly what Bitcoin wants to do, guys. And it's going to break a new all-time high. Now, when is that going to happen? Who knows, man? I mean, we can look at this, and all I can do is give you a range because I don't have a crystal ball. So anyway, we'll get into that. For right now, I also want to take a look at the Heikin Ashi chart here. I mean, look at this thing, right? What it does is it smooths out the price action into very distinct trends, right? When uptrends and downtrends. And right now, the Heikin Ashi is kind of dojing, spinning right here between red and green. And if this is green, that is a huge signal. Very, very bullish. And along with that hammer candle that we got in December, if the February candle is green as well, then it's pretty much a given that we're going to break new all-time highs in 2020 or at the very latest Q1 2021. I mean, what do you expect to happen? I just think about it for just a minute. Like, this thing is a rocket ship, dude. Even when it goes down, it's whatever. It's just shenanigans, right? All right. So more evidence. I mean, look at this symmetrical triangle right now. It's already starting its journey towards the top of the triangle. So could it get rejected up here, come back down, and then break upwards? Sure. That can happen. It depends on what the market makers want to do. All right, let's look at. Anyway, please visit all my charts and follow me and like them all. Please help me get the word out. I try to spread good ideas about the market. I try to look at things other analysts don't see and try to provide a different point of view and perspective and different evidence that others might not be looking at. All right, this chart looks very messy. So this yellow line is a hand-drawn line. So as you can see, it can bounce off of the top and come back down and then break the all-time highs. It depends on how much selling that the insiders want to do up there. Chances are there's going to be a lot of FOMO near the 20K, so if they feel like selling into it pretty hardcore, then we're going to pull back. But whether we pull back like all the way to this green line like this and then launch upwards, or maybe FOMO will be so hardcore that we might just dip part way down this channel, right? So we're going to break it anyway at some point in this green circle. That green circle is very, very, very important because it represents the earliest and the latest that we are likely to break the all-time high. Now, if candles just keep going up and up and up like they did in 2019, then we could potentially break the all-time high in May when the halving occurs. So if the market makers want to use the halving to pump the price and create a lot of FOMO, we can end up breaking all-time high in May, which would be just incredibly bullish. We would go on the epic bull run everybody's waiting for at that point. Now, if they sell into it a ton, then we'll get rejected, but it's going to break once we get up there. I mean, people at 14K, people were ready for 20, man. They were just ready for it, and a lot of selling happened. So we don't know what's going to happen here, but those are the only choices. I mean, the price can only go up and down, guys. And the market makers, what are they incentivized to do? Well, they may want to sell more up here, right? They might want to sell. They might not want to sell too much here, but I don't know, man. That's up to them. There's an asymmetry of information between us and the insiders. They know the inventory levels better than we do. We can infer the inventory levels because we can analyze the blockchain and price action. So we can infer what they're doing, but we don't know for sure. They're in some room somewhere smoking cigars, trying to figure out ways to squeeze money out of us, right? So Bitcoin broke out of, let's go down. This is a monthly chart, which is very, very powerful. Each candle contains so much information. So I love the monthly charts. But let's look at the weekly. Now, a lot of people drew this channel, like I said, on the tops of these wicks, which, I don't know, if you do that, then technically, I guess we still haven't broke the channel. And that is by design. I believe that this pump was designed to get traders to draw their line at the top of this thing and to give market makers a chance to accumulate more and more and more, because a lot of analysts will not change to bullish bias until this is broken, right? And even until 10.4, 10.5, where this candle wick went up to, they will not be bullish because they see that as a higher high. So until we break that, it's not a higher high. But quite frankly, with so much shenanigans in the market, these levels, they are elastic. They are like rubber bands, right? They're not concrete. I don't believe in looking at them that way because this market is manipulated. And don't let these people manipulate you, man. I'm not going to let them manipulate me. Sorry, I had to take a drink. All right, so look at that. This is beautiful. This week we consolidated. A brand new candle body started and tested where the line is here. So I think that makes sense where I draw my line. I mean, look at that. It tested it perfectly, and now we're above it. And we're above the 21 weekly moving average. Our next candle body close, weekly close above it. If it closes above it, is very bullish. I mean, I don't know how anybody could look at this chart and still be bearish. At this point, I think it's just that is irresponsible to ignore all of the evidence I've presented to you. So we are still in the accumulation zone. So who knows what the price is going to do? It depends on if their warehouses are full or not, and they're ready to mark the price up. And it looks like they're on their way. So let's get rid of some lines. Let's clean this up. Because I like simple. I like to have little anxiety. I'm not worried about the price going down right now. So I'm in another long. I went long at 8,600. I had no problem with that. There's too much. I don't know. The chart's looking like it did in kind of April and May 2019. I don't want this thing to take off and miss it. I really don't. I fear on missing out on those gains due to all of this evidence in the chart. So I'm not FOMOing irrationally. It's completely rational FOMO. That's how I like it to be. That's how I roll. All right, so, man, God, I just have so much to talk about. All right, you see this pink line here? I'll show you guys this. This pink line pretty much runs along with the green line, which is the parabolic adoption trend, right? And so this straight green line is a parabola. And I'll show you, let's get off the log chart here for a second and look at what that pink line does. That pink line curves upwards in an exponential fashion. So in order for the adoption trend to continue as it has for the last 10 years since Bitcoin's inception, Bitcoin has to follow this pink line. And if it just follows the pink line, which is the organic selling line, then it was likely to break the all-time high somewhere in Q4 2020 or Q1 2021, as far as I can tell. And you can see that green circle it's a circle now. It was like a football on the log chart, but this is the range where we're going to break the all-time high. So, and the halving being the earliest that we will break it. So right now, this is what price action has to do in order to reach the all-time high at that point. And let me make that green. So, this is what we're looking at, okay? Now, nothing goes up in a straight line, so let's say it pumps to 14. So, and then it might get a little sell-off. And then, boom, it could look something like that, potentially. I mean, if, right? That is, if that's what's occurring. And over time, it takes time. You got to be patient. Right? You don't need any anxiety on longer time frames. You just get to have fun with it, right? And think about what might happen. So we've basically got a channel here that Bitcoin is going to either... I'll go ahead and just get rid of these. All right. This is what we're looking at. This is where price can go and still reach the all-time high, because this pink line, I mean, this could potentially be over here, drawn like this, right? There's nothing that says, it's elastic, we're projecting into the future. So just like hurricanes, we develop a price model, and the price can only pump so high so fast, and the adoption curve can only move so fast. So I think that this is reasonable. To me, I am reasoning this out, and this looks reasonable to me. And so now, yeah, this is a long time frame. We're talking, this is potentially like a 9-month window. So, but that's all we got right now. That's all we can do. Now, as time goes on, right, as this price action moves up here, and where it's at, what it does, we could potentially move it, we could shorten it and move it this way or the other potentially, but in the end, nobody knows. All I know is that this chart looks like it wants to go up here and break the all-time high. So, but in order for that to happen, we need to break this triangle first. So let me get rid of all this stuff here. So we've got this downward pressure right here. And amazingly, it meets up at the halving right here. So this, to me, is a symmetrical triangle, and potentially a extremely large multi-year bull flag, because you got to think, on the log chart, you can see the flagpole, right? But there's a year-long flagpole before this thing went parabolic. So this could be a bull flag that will then, once this thing breaks, will have enough energy to shoot it up past the last all-time high. So this looks like a long way to go, but we're almost halfway there. I mean, 10,000 is halfway to 20K, and we're almost there. a lot of FOMO will occur above 10,000 and especially 14K. So a lot of energy will occur once we break this trend line here and consolidate above it. That will be huge. So the price could go up. We could consolidate above it. And then we gun for, at that point, I mean, there's not much, there's nothing on the VPVR. There's not a lot of price action. I mean, at 14K, you might see another pullback, but there's not like a ton of, it's just not a ton of price action where we could say, oh, there's going to be a ton of resistance. So 14 and 20K, 10, 14, and 20K are the kind of where I think that, it's possible we'll run into some resistance as selling happens. So let's draw some horizontal lines to show the levels that the market makers created before. So there was some confluence here at 16 as well, and certainly at 14. So these are the main levels I'm looking at. They're actually pretty even. So I believe that we're going to staircase upwards. I don't know how it's going to be. I mean, all these lines could be over here, I don't know. It could consolidate in these places for a while before going up. It's hard to tell, but all I know is it looks like this is what's playing out, right? In some way, shape, or form. The timing, of course, is going to be the most difficult. It takes a lot of time to create this kind of FOMO, but look what they did in 2019. It took 3 months to pop from 4 to 14K. Popping from 8 to 20K, one big FOMO candle could get us to past 10, and then we're off to the races. So this is what I'm looking at, guys. I think 2020 is going to be a big year for Bitcoin, one way or another. Either it keeps following the adoption trend curve, or it falls below it, and either way, there is a chance to make some life-changing money here. And this is the way I'll be trading. So I'll keep making videos. So I hope you like, subscribe, and tick that little bell, because this is just the beginning. I'm going to turn $5,000 into $1 million. One way or another. This is what's happening. This is what's going down. So like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys again later.